Yeah,
content.
just start the music again. Let's just do it again.
That's fine. Here we go.
We did it. We found the rest of the Patreon content.
Ooh, lobster rolls.
From fabulous Las Vegas, this is Pod Therapy again. Real people, real problems, and real therapists. You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email podtherapyguys@gmail.com. It's December 1st, and Jim's birthday still sucks.
Woo!
No one cares.
Pie day.
Pie day. And now, from the churn, that guy's Dr. Jim Jobin. This is Nick Tandra. It's time for some Pod Therapy.
Oh, that's wonderful.
We're leaving that whole thing in.
I don't care.
Oh, yeah.
Either way, it's great. Yeah. So it is officially the first week of December. It's my birthday. I'm in the back half of my 30s and feel good. I like my 30s. I like my 30s better than my 20s. Like overwhelmingly better than my 20s. 20s suck. So all of you that are depressed in your 20s, hang in there. You will soon be depressed in your 30s.
All right, give me an age that you would like to go back to. If you can just go back to an age. And you have to decide whether or not you take your current knowledge or you go back to that age with that age's worth of knowledge.
And we're not talking about manipulating the stocks. We're talking about just
no, this is just having a fun life.
Man, I don't know. Gosh, I didn't like my 20s. My 20s were rough. So I don't know that I'd go back to the 20s. I mean, it'd be nice to go back when my kiddos were little and stuff, but I just assume we're talking about me and my life and whatever.
Yeah, don't get too deep here.
I'll stick to my 30s. I honestly would. I mean, maybe go back a couple of years.
I mean, if I could take my current knowledge with me, I'd go all the way back to high school.
Would you really?
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know.
Probably not back to high. If I could do current knowledge, I feel like I'd go back to about 25.
Okay.
Well, see, I would want to use my current knowledge in my education.
What do you mean?
Like, I feel like
Are you just talking about having sex with high school girls?
Yeah, I feel like
that's what you're talking about.
You're just a bad person.
No, like I'm talking about I know as an adult the things I'm interested in.
Right.
Like I've got so many things that I'm really interested in that at the time in high school learning about it, I had no interest in.
Oh, okay.
So history.
Yeah.
I would
true.
do so much better in school because I would be interested in it. You know?
Yeah. No, I'm with
so
you.
I want to take that information back.
Now that you've said that, I'm with you.
Let me ask you a question though.
Okay.
That might change your mind.
Okay.
Has your poor performance in high school negatively affected the rest of your life?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
So then why change it?
So I think I'm going to just go ahead and say...
I don't know.
Just so you can say you had more A's?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go back to...
Somehow high school grades are still important to
maybe.
Nick.
I don't know.
I'm going to say sophomore year. I'm going to go back to sophomore year of high school, roughly August 2001. And maybe just make some phone calls. I think that's what I'm going to do. Make some phone calls, maybe to the Twin Tower buildings.
How old would you have been in
know.
August 2001?
Sophomore, probably 15, 15, somewhere around there. So,
oh, really?
I probably would have notified the 9/11.
I would like to think.
I keep forgetting how much older I am.
Oh, you're hugely older than me.
I would like to think that nobody would have listened to you.
Oh, of course. Yeah, some kid on line one.
No. You know,
I would like to think that it would be like, what was the movie with
There's been
Ashton
a couple
Kutcher,
of movies.
The Butterfly Effect?
Butterfly Effect.
Where he keeps trying to go back and change terrible things in the past.
Bruce Willis did one too. Wasn't that 12 Monkeys? Whenever he's going back trying to stop a global pandemic or something like that?
That is 12 Monkeys, yeah.
I think what would have happened, the exact same thing.
I think that's all Jim is setting himself up for, though.
Because it would have played out exactly the same.
Right.
Except then now they've got this suspicious guy.
Now I'm on every watch list that's arrested me.
Now Jim is in Guantanamo Bay at 16 years old.
And I'm like, no, I'm a 36-year-old man in a boy's body.
Yeah.
Sure you are, champ.
And no pod therapy.
And then pod therapy doesn't happen. See, guys, the butterfly effect. You can't change one thing without ruining everything, including my birthday.
I know. I think your life is the only thing that gets ruined in that scenario.
And all the pod therapy listeners.
I mean, everything else stays kind of as shitty as it is.
It'd pretty much be exactly
Apparently, we had a lot more Patreon content.
Yeah. We had a deep bench. For those of you wondering what that reference was, patreon.com/therapy.
We're leaving that whole thing in.
You don't edit the shows, Nick. You have no idea how the show gets put together. Don't worry. I'll take care of it. It'll be fine.
Leave the whole thing in.
We have a voicemail card that came to us. They've been trickling in ever since episode 200, when many of you realized we hit 200 and didn't notice all the other times I'd asked you to send us messages. But now people are trickling them in. Here's a new one.
Hi guys, this is Lindsay Bashara, and I wanted to say congratulations on 200 episodes. and thank you for supporting mental health. Love you guys.
You're welcome, Lindsay.
Lindsay.
And we love you
I've been
back.
saying that name wrong this
I know.
whole time.
Well, in our defense,
You
it
have?
ends with A-R-A.
yeah.
You couldn't pronounce
Yeah.
Lindsay?
Lindsay.
Oh, I thought it was Rachel.
Yeah. The L
I've
is
been pronouncing
silent.
it with an R.
Wait, how have you been pronouncing her name?
Yeah, Bashara.
Bashara. I've been saying Bashara.
But she
Oh,
said
now I don't know if I
Bashara.
say it right or not.
But she said Bashara.
Yeah.
And we've been saying Bashara.
Maybe she's been pronouncing it
I think
wrong
she's
this whole
wrong.
time.
Honestly, it's A-R-A. We're
think
right.
so. Yeah,
no,
I'm
this is the
sticking
hill.
with- I'm
'Cause she's
sticking
a-
with mine.
she's an
Welcome to
ICS
standing
Patreon
up for
as
your
well.
diction.
Yes.
Okay, this is
And-
how you want to live.
Yeah,
You've
now
been-
I
you've
now
been
I
saying
don't
it
know
wrong,
if I
too.
say it wrong.
Yeah, I'm not.
Now I don't know if I do or not.
We'll just
I'll
add her
bet
to
you
the
do.
list of
Do I?
people
Okay.
Okay, so-
whose names we have
Yeah.
butchered, like Sandra McAuliffe and Malaya and Orica and Manu for a long time. So
I believe
Yeah.
it's pronounced Sandra.
yeah. That was it. McWaffle.
McWaffle.
Yeah, if you want us to butcher your name, give us money. Apparently, if you want to see what we would do with it,
And you know what? If you give us more,
Yeah.
we still won't pronounce
we
it
just
right.
get said more often. If you, by the way, if you are a listener of this show and you have a difficult to pronounce name and you're not making us say it by sponsoring the show, you're wasting your time. Like, what are you doing? This podcast can do so much more for your life than you are currently accessing. Drop a buck in the hat and make
There's
us say it.
several people, Patreons on Ice Cream Social, who now just send in pronunciations of their name
go
right
with it?
next to their name. And I love it so much.
Oh,
my
yeah.
God.
Like there's one
best.
guy on there, Jeffrey Nowyuk.
Oh, yeah.
And Jeffrey sends in, like, there's just a little note next to his name that he put there. It says, Jeffrey Nowyuk rhymes with cowbook.
Oh,
And, like, he
That's
did that one month years ago. And I was like,
brilliant.
this is my new favorite person.
Yeah.
And, like,
Patreon.com.
several people do it now.
Everybody
great
can dump
idea.
a buck in the hat, make us say your name. Be fun times. But Lindsay Bashara, thank you so much for sending us a love note, letting us know that you that you value what we're doing and that we hit our 200 mark and we're still trucking. So here we are. This is episode 204. And welcome to December, everybody. Hope that this is a good time of year for you. Hope that you survived your Thanksgivings. Hope that our episode was helpful to you and found you where you were at and hopefully got some people through the awkwardness.
If people want to send something like that in, or if they want to send in a question, where do they send it?
PodTherapyGuys@gmail.com.
There you
can
go.
send in PodTherapyGuys@gmail.com. Send us a little voice memo. Just record something on your phone and click share. And just email it to us. It'll come through.
Or you can send a question for the show.
Yeah, you can also do that.
Yeah.
Nobody ever really sends us questions in voice format, but that'd be fine. Go ahead.
I just mean they
yeah.
can send an email.
yeah, you could just do
That's
that.
all I really mean, but you could do it as a
You
voice
could.
thing too.
You could. I remember in the early days of the show, we actually created a Google Voice, and we were thinking of advertising that and then letting people leave voicemails on that, and we were just going to play them on the show. But at the time, we were so techno-illiterate that we didn't know how to play those voicemails onto the show, and so we just went with the write-in format, and that has stuck. So, but yeah, if you wanted to,
That's the
Voicemail.
email address,
There you
though.
PodTherapyGuys@gmail.com.
I'm
That
just
is
giving
the-
you an excuse to get your email address out
Yeah,
there.
we got to get it out there.
That's all I'm trying to do for you, buddy.
So we got some great
Trying
letters.
to help your show out.
I appreciate you. We got some great letters to start off here in December. First one, I really liked this one. This one's called Doc in Emotional Distress. What's up, guys? I'm a family medicine doc, and I was drawn to write in after hearing the writer whose doctor didn't acknowledge their weight loss. First, I wanted to mention that a 30-pound weight loss is awesome and very difficult. We don't often see that actually happen because it's so challenging, so keep that up. Second, I want to give insight into one possible scenario that could have happened by giving my own example. So I'll pause here. This is Jim speaking, not the writer. This is a reference to a letter that we got a few episodes back, probably about 3 or 4 episodes ago, where a writer wrote in talking about losing weight and talking about how the doctor's office didn't acknowledge the 30-pound loss and how that
the
was
doctor
discouraging.
specifically.
The doctor specifically,
Right.
yeah. And then we kind of speculated as to why that would have happened and what that was like, maybe from the doctor's perspective, and also congratulated the person and just kind of talked about the way obstacles can get in the way. So that's what this writer's talking about. And this is from the doctor's perspective, which is pretty cool. So doctor says, yeah, second, I want to give some insight. I recently had an older patient as my next to last patient and a younger guy as my last patient. The older patient was complicated medically and psychosocially. I had to have an emotional conversation with the patient and his wife. I could feel the emotional weight on myself. It took longer than a usual visit and put me behind on seeing the last patient. I rushed in because I knew they were waiting for so long. As I was going, I could feel myself being distracted by what happened. I luckily noticed and tried my hardest to be present with my last patient. It was something I had to actively do, and I'm sure there has been and will be times that I don't notice. That leads me to my last piece. What do y'all do to shake off those difficult encounters as therapists prior to seeing your next patient? Thanks for all you guys do in promoting mental health, Christine. And I totally know where Christine is writing in from, because that was something we talked about in our answer to that writer who talked about the weight loss. We had said, well, maybe that was the end of the day and maybe the last patient was difficult. And it sounds like for this writer, that inspired a question of exactly that problem of what happens whenever you're moving from one to the other.
Yeah, I think that's pretty common. And, I think, I don't know if we're any different as clinicians, as therapists, that, we go through a lot of training that kind of teaches us to kind of refocus and to just be in the present, be in the now.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's really difficult. Like I've had some sessions where like it just, for whatever reason, something hit, something really stuck, and it's hard to tune that out and go to the next one.
Right.
There are some things that I've done in the past that have been very helpful. Sometimes jotting down a few notes right after that first session to just kind of, it's almost kind of like it gets it out of my head and onto paper.
Right.
So I kind of imagine it just kind of going out so I don't have to think about it. And if I don't have to think about it, then I don't have to have any kind of emotion.
Right. Because if you do your notes later on in the night, you have to kind of bank that experience somewhere, because you have to faithfully finish your documents.
So it allows me, just putting it down on paper, just even some just bullet points, getting it out on paper allows me to just like, okay, that's done.
Yeah.
It's kind of a mental door closing, and then we open the new door to the next client. And sometimes reviewing the next client's chart in advance before they come in.
That does help.
I got into a habit of always reading their treatment plan, because I want to, whatever we talk about, I want to somehow be able to tie it into what they're working on. And so even if it's not something that directly relates, I just want to have that fresh. So that helps. Sometimes you have to debrief with another clinician. If I catch somebody in the hallway, say, hey, I just want to run some stuff by you real quick. If you've got 5 minutes, do that really quick. Again, that's just another way of getting it out of your head so you can kind of, again, close that door, move on to the next one. But yeah, it's not always that easy.
No, it's not. That I think both of those, I'll do those. And back whenever I used to practice in a building that exclusively had other therapists in it, that was really common, that if one of us, because, there's always somebody not in session, right? And so you usually crack your door open or whatever, you're doing your notes, doing some paperwork, doing some emails, and, another therapist come knock on your door, and we all knew what that meant. We always knew that was code. Like if somebody would say something like, hey, man, can I just like offload something with you real quick? And we all, yes, I know exactly where you're going with this. What's up, man? What's on your heart? And it's just like, yeah, this is the case I just had. Here's what's going on. This was a hard one. And, as therapists, we're doing therapy kind of in that moment. There's a cathartic sharing and alleviating. Now, you can't always do that, right? And that's another thing in healthcare. I had a patient recently, speaking of healthcare timing, this doctor's talking about the last patient waiting so long. So they didn't have any time to debrief because they rushed to the last patient. And that happens in all of healthcare. That's I think one of the tropes of healthcare is like, oh, your appointment's for 2:00 and you don't even get seen until like 2:45, right? Like it's usual. I had a patient, a new guy, this last month, and we had our first session, went really well. And at the end of the session, I said, I usually will ask if there's anything I should know about the kind of therapist that works well for you, or if you've never done therapy before. Do you know what kind of a helper is good for you, or just tips, anything you can teach me to be a good therapist? And I'm all ears. And I write that kind of stuff down.
I would like a female therapist.
Yeah. Okay, got noted. Yeah. Also, could you cut that mustache off? that would be really helpful.
I like bare-lipped therapists.
Yeah. Really distracted by that. And God bless him, this patient said, I had made this patient wait. I think I was about 9 minutes late for that one. And I had messaged them and said, hey, I'm running a few minutes late. And at the end of the session, they said, I really like you. I think we're off to a good start, but I think you should know starting on time is really important to me, and I want to make sure that always happens. And I smiled warmly at this person, and I said, I'll bet you I'm the shortest wait you've had in healthcare this year. And
9 minutes for any healthcare appointment.
Yeah. And he was like,
great.
oh, yeah, that's right. This is a healthcare thing, isn't it? I'm like, yep. And I'm booked, right? And so, yeah, being 9 minutes behind halfway through my day, I'm real good at this. Like, you're welcome. And he's like,
that means
yep,
I'm moving people on.
I'm moving them on. Yeah. And I'm still getting it done. And he was like, yep, I retract my previous comment. We're cool. And I was like, yeah, thank you. But no, that's a real thing, because obviously in my intercession, weaving there, I'm moving from A to B sometimes. I don't have the ability to download it onto the notes. I don't have the ability to, check in with another therapist, because a lot of times you don't. In this writer's case, you really don't. And Christine, I really feel for you, because in that situation, yeah, sometimes you're coming out of a session where you're dealing with some really scary things. For you, having to give some really bad news to a patient. For us, it's usually hearing really bad news. We're not delivering a diagnosis that would matter in that kind of case. But either way, yeah, the emotional drain is so real. And the only advice that I would give you in that, for me, I have kind of a warm-up ritual that I do with almost every patient. And they're used to it. It's very casual. It doesn't come off as artificial. They're used to it. It's the normal warm-up chit-chat where I'll say something like, oh man, it's so great to see you today. If I know they're a local, I'll say something about the weather. Here's what's going. Man, this is really cool. It's Thanksgiving week. I'm really excited about that. I hope you are too. How was
Did
this?
you know it's my birthday?
I don't know if I've told you that. I don't know if you got my email, but it's my birthday.
Also,
so.
it's National Pie Day.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw that. I sent you my wish list.
I don't know if you're planning a surprise birthday party.
I mean, don't tell me toward the end. I mean, I don't want to waste your
if
time.
If you are, go ahead and tell me though, because otherwise, I want to get the disappointment out of the way. If you're not,
yeah. I usually try to kind of come in cracking
That is a
wise.
direct quote.
Yeah,
by the way.
that is a direct quote. That was from the Patreon, patreon.com/therapy.
Yeah.
Find out what the hell we're talking about.
Yeah, he said that to his wife, everyone.
Yeah. It worked out, guys. It worked out. I told you it was one of my favorite birthdays, was that one. But no, I'll usually do this small talk inaugural thing that I start every session with. And it's genuine, but it's formatted, right? I'm starting it off with current event chit-chat, and how are you chit-chat, and the weather chit-chat, and what's going on in life chit-chat. And it usually starts the other person into this kind of rhythm where they're like, oh, hey, man, they start walking along with me kind of thing and chatting as we're going. And the momentum builds quickly. And that usually calibrates me. I may be spiraling into this session wheels on fire from the last one. But something about that first 5-minute kind of space where I've inaugurated this chit-chat formula, for me, allows me to steady while that's happening. Because I'm not thinking very hard while I'm starting my chit-chat stuff, because I've said this 7 other times, or some version of what I'm saying 7 other times today. So I'm kind of on autopilot when I'm starting that. But then you, the patient, are going to say some things back to me that I will find interesting and pleasant and innocuous. You'll tell me, oh, yeah, we're really excited for Thanksgiving this week. We're actually going to fly across. We're going to Dallas. We have some family. Oh, Dallas. I'm from Dallas. I used to live outside of Waxahachie. Oh, very cool. And it steadies me sometimes and helps me kind of get centered and leave behind whatever came in with me.
Hopefully it's not stuff that's too heavy.
Yeah. Dallas, that's where JFK was shot.
No, I'm talking how was your week? Oh, my wife left me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that sucks. How's your Thanksgiving? Got any big plans?
Got any family plans for Thanksgiving?
You have any ties to Dallas?
Who gets the kids? Got ties to Dallas. Yeah. But that
I've got
really
I've got little things that I can say about Dallas if you have ties to Dallas.
I have about 5 minutes of Dallas content, so I'm really hoping everybody always says something that I can weave back around to Dallas.
I can even make it work if you just liked the TV show Dallas.
Dallas, yeah. Well, you got any plans for Thanksgiving? Yeah, I was going to watch, the Detroit Lions game. Detroit Lions real good. They also play against Texas. Also, the Dallas Cowboys. Let me tell you about Waxahachie. I used to live outside Dallas. Real humid there in August. So that helps me, Christine, having kind of a little bit of I don't know that we say this in healthcare, but in high school, I know I don't want to intimidate you guys because I don't like to brag about all my high school accomplishments, but I was in speech and debate. And, I was really good at it.
I didn't even know you went to high school.
I know.
I would have guessed that you didn't.
Yeah, that's geography would tell us you did not.
Pretty good, guys. I was in varsity, speech and debate. And we had this thing called...
Varsity?
Varsity. I lettered in it. Yeah, no big deal. And we had these things called canned intros and canned outros. And we had this event called, what was it called? Spontaneous something. Extemporaneous speaking. That was it. And basically, they would give you like this fortune cookie slip, and it would have a topic on it, and you'd take that, and as soon as your hand held it, your clock started, and you had 7 minutes to speak on that topic. You could take as much of that time as you wanted to prepare for what you were talking about, but if you burned up more minutes, you got less credit because you didn't speak for as long as somebody else. So if somebody else did a B+ job, did you do it? Did you do speech and debate?
I definitely, I don't think I did speech and debate, but I definitely did that. I might have done speech and debate.
Might have been in theater. They do it in theater too.
No, because I didn't do theater in high school.
Okay. You might have done forensics.
I just did something. Maybe it was called forensics.
Or maybe a class would have done it.
It wasn't a class because we traveled to do it.
Dude, you were in forensics.
Maybe it was forensics.
How do you not know this about yourself?
I don't know anything.
You were in forensics.
But I'll tell you, if you hand me a sheet of paper that has a topic on it and tell me that I have a time to spend on it, boy, am I good at that event.
That's what that is. Yeah. Extemporaneous speaking. We used to call it extemp.
Yeah.
And so you'd get this little slip and you'd have to go on it or whatever. And so there was different events. Some of them could be funny.
I'd always tie it back to Dallas.
Yeah, they always want to come back to Dallas. Some of them would be newsworthy or whatever. But we had this technique that we learned in that class or club or sport. Sport, I think it's the right word for it. Let's stick with I'm going to land on sport.
Oh,
2
yeah.
feet.
Yeah.
I'm going to land 2 feet on sport.
Go with sport.
Stuck the landing on sport.
When
We're
I
going to nail that word into it.
When I think Jim Jobin, I think athlete.
Athlete. Well, yeah.
Make sure you wear your varsity Letterman jacket in next week with your mom.
I'll call Mom right now and tell her to bring my trophies and my medallions and shit. She has a whole like what's it called? Altar. That's it. She has a whole altar set up to my accomplishments from high school. Oh, hell yeah. No, my mom's all about me, man. Like, it's a big deal. I'm kind of a big deal in the Jobin house. Anyway, where was I going with this? Okay. So in the speech and debate
Dallas,
thing,
hopefully.
Dallas, you have this thing called a canned intro. And you use this because you want to buy yourself time to think about whatever your speech is going to be about.
But you're still talking.
And you can just go. And so the canned intro is meant to be this playful opening thing that you can always weave into your topic. And so it would be like a joke, or it'd be like a short story, or like some kind of witty like aphorism.
Oh, I can't wait to
and
hear
then
what
you'd
Jim's canned
always
intro
weave.
was.
Oh, I had a ton. I had a ton of them.
I don't know what it is, but I know it's inappropriate.
Favorite one, go.
Oh, I don't remember any of them now.
Yeah, you do.
I mean, that was a long time ago. I don't know. They'd be like a joke or something. I'm sure I had one of them that was a joke. I don't remember, man. Oh, yeah, I do.
We go.
I had one that I would quote the lyrics of like a really popular song at the time, which I don't think I can remember now. But then that song, it started with a rhyme. And so I'd start off by rhyming and I'd get their attention because like, okay, there's a rhyme going on. Like most people stop and like listen when you're doing a rhyme. And I'd riff off 3 verses to this thing or whatever it was, really short. And it would always apply to whatever the topic was. I could always bend it because it was so poetic that I could always say, this is very much like that too. And it's like, oh, that kid's really like clever.
I believe it was LL Cool J who once said,
yeah, we're all living in a gangster's paradise. Yeah. The kid's got a point.
A lot of people work for the weekend.
Everybody.
Everything that I do, I did it all for the nookie.
The nookie.
The what? The nookie.
Which
the
one?
what?
The
nookie.
So you can
which you can find in downtown Dallas.
Beautiful downtown Dallas, where Kennedy was shot.
Waxahachie.
Anyway, I'm from this town called Waxahachie. Yeah, so I would use this canned intro bit, and then it would allow me to, in the back of my head, figure out what I was going to talk about, but I could do that in this like genuine way. So I say that to you, Christine, because I think there's a similar formula that I sometimes use in therapy where my first like 2.5 to 3 minutes of that encounter are very similar across the board. I'm going to ask the same opening questions, or I'm going to make the same opening jokes about weather or something that's happening in the calendar. Oh my goodness, it's holidays outside. It's so beautiful. Oh my gosh, the rain's out here. It very rarely rains. And man, I hope that you're out there being safe. So man, the other day, my neighbor, he skidded right into the trash cans. It's crazy. Those roads get like ice. You ever notice that? And the other person, oh, yeah, Vegas is crazy when it rains. And, like, that gives me a moment to, like, collect, think about my chart, look at the notes while I'm talking to them, and just kind of recalibrate. So that's one tip that I'd give you. I think Nick's tips are awesome. And I still get it that sometimes you honestly don't have intercession time. Mm-hmm. You're running late, and you're already, like, my guy was waiting 9 minutes. Like, I don't want him to wait 30 more seconds, for me to gather myself.
Right.
I'm going to do it on the fly. But I buy that time by opening the session with common innocuous stuff that everybody kind of expects you to open with anyway. It's just normal chit chat. I don't think anybody hears that and goes, wow, really, Jim? That's why you talk about the weather? Well, yeah. Like, what did you think we were doing, man? I'm opening the conversation with you. Like, I'm warming up the mics. Like, you're good with it too. So it's normal anyway.
I might also suggest one last thing. A lot of this, I think, is preemptive. Like, there's some preventative stuff that you can do. And I am a big believer in mindfulness meditation.
Yeah.
I think getting into a habit of doing that on a regular basis allows you to be a little bit quicker in being able to process emotion and kind of file away your thoughts in the moment.
Yes.
I feel like that will help you be a little bit quicker.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, great question, Christine.
Very good question.
Glad to hear from other clinicians in other disciplines. Love it. And so always welcoming our colleagues to write in.
It's always nice to hear from real doctors.
Yeah, exactly. People get sick and tired of my bullshit.
I wasn't going to say it.
Yeah. Anytime you want to just come take over the show, Christine. It'll be fine. Nobody will miss me. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about parent and child mental health. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Robert Brownie Jr. Mintz, Kayla Lansbury, Crazy Miana Scoop, Malia.
We nailed it.
And Cindy Ash. Would you like to sponsor the show? Become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy. I'm saving the geography questions for next week when your mom's here.
Oh, great.
This week's trivia theme in honor of our therapy producers.
Oh, will Jim's mom be better or worse at geography?
I know, that's what I'm waiting on. I'm really excited about.
You should do a pronunciation test with my mom. Every bad word, every word that I say that I don't say right, it's from her.
Next week's all going to be trivia. All right, this week.
We're not even doing questions.
If you hate therapy, listen to next week.
We probably won't do questions. That's a good point. May as well.
This week's theme is Christmas classics. I'm going to read off the song, and it's going to be the most popular version of that classic Christmas song, according to Spotify.
Okay.
And you have to tell me who sang it.
Oh.
Limp Bizkit, final answer.
That is
it was Nookie. No, okay. First song. The Christmas song, Merry Christmas to You. Is that Nat King Cole, Andy Williams, Frank Sinatra, Johnny Mathis, or the Jacksonville Jaguars? If you'd like to join us as a therapy producer, go to therapy, patreon.com/therapy and sign up.
So all of those people released a version of that song.
No.
And which is the most popular?
No.
Okay.
Only one of them.
Oh, only one of them released a version of it at all.
I don't know. Some of them may have, but this one is attributed to this specific singer.
All right, what's the song?
Melikalikimaka, so that's the wrong song.
Wait, this is the wrong song?
Yes.
Oh,
that's Melikalikimaka.
But it had that line in it.
Christmas? Yeah.
Yeah, what was
a lot of them are good.
What was the title
Christmas
of your
classics.
song? What was the title of the song you were saying?
The Christmas song, Merry Christmas to You.
Merry Christmas to you.
Yeah, a lot of this is a Christmas song.
Is that the one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, do it again.
No.
I don't know what the song is.
Here, I'll sing it.
Go ahead.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, give me a C. C.
C.
La, la, la. Okay, here we go. Are you ready?
I forgot my pan.
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
Where are your ethics?
Goulet.
It's really dry in here. Is it dry in here?
Goulet?
It's really dry.
My knuckles are cracking.
Is that the one though? Is it that song, The Chestnuts Roasting on Open Fire?
Yes.
Okay, our options are Sinatra.
Our options are Nat King Cole,
Andy
Williams, Sinatra.
I'm grabbing Sinatra.
Johnny Mathis.
I want Sinatra.
You can have Sinatra.
Feels like it's Sinatra. All the warblers or whatever is Sinatra to me. I don't know the difference.
It's also the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Crooners.
I'll go Andy Williams.
Okay. I'm surprised you guys are both wrong.
Was it John
It's
Williams?
Nat King Cole.
No, it's Nat King Cole.
Yeah, that was my second guess. I knew it wasn't Sinatra.
Jeez. Yes. They all sound like Sinatra to me. I don't know the difference. Christmas music.
I believe in this case, Sinatra sounds like them.
All right, you might be right.
Yeah.
Okay. So not only did I get the wrong artist, I got the wrong song.
Yeah.
What I think you got is the wrong decade.
Happy Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah.
That was Bing Crosby that did that song.
Oh.
Not Happy Hanukkah.
Oh.
Melikalikimaka.
That was Bing Crosby?
That was Bing Crosby.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez. Man, I only know that song from the movie Christmas Vacation. Great movie. That is my favorite. That is
a good movie.
Classic Christmas stuff. Parent and child mental health. Mental health has been a hugely difficult obstacle for me throughout my life. and only recently have I felt like I'm under control. I have bipolar 2, cyclothymia, and ADHD. I'm a single mom of a child who is likely ADHD too. I have several questions that are different but connected. Number 1. My kid's dad is unarguably not a great parent. I've spent 9 years giving him chances, and drugs, court, violence have all been involved. I've spent 9 years giving him chances. There's no comma between drugs. I mean, I thought that's what it's. I've given him drugs. What? Let me try that again. I've spent 9 years giving him chances, and drugs, court, violence have all been involved. There we go. He's not abusive, but he's not healthy either. My kid yearns to be closer to him, but we co-parent at a distance, and it's been a journey to feel okay with him taking my kid every month. It's been a long, hard-fought journey from supervised visits 1 hour a week to overnights every other weekend across state lines to currently 2 nights a month. I was a wreck at the beginning, and the mere thought or sight or mention of his name would fill my stomach with dread and heaviness and anxiety. I've gone from an angry and flighty 20-year-old who did any drug offered to a student or to a graduate student to a clearance-holding tech and now a manager of a lab. Cool. Number 2. How do I make sure my child doesn't grow up to be self-absorbed, dishonest, and drug-dependent like his dad? He still admires his dad despite every disappointment. I don't tell him the reasons why his dad can't make it, and I dodge the questions like, why aren't you guys friends? My child did have his own therapist, and we've moved again, so I'm looking for a new one currently. Number 3. Do you think my diagnoses have an effect on my status as a fit parent in the eyes of the court? It's something that scared me more than my own darkness for a long time. When my mental health was finally at its lowest, I said F it. Plus, his dad would have to bring it up in court. And seeing as I've been the sole provider and caretaker for my son for 9+ years, shrug, the court can probably suss that out, right? Number 4. My son's 9. His last psych strongly suggested meds for ADHD. I was not rude, but did not take kindly to it. What are you guys' thoughts on children and stimulants? Number 5. My child is kind of an a-hole. He's smart, shifty, opportunistic, and will absolutely do some dumb crap to get what he wants or get out of consequences. He's got a smart mouth, a penchant for sarcasm, and I just have no idea where all that came from. Definitely not for me, definitely. Sometimes I'm too tired or mentally emotionally spent from my work to combat him. I know it's not right, but I just don't have enough spoons. I have this new big girl job. It's hard, demanding, stressful, but it pays really well, and I enjoy it just enough. What do I do? I feel like he's not getting enough attention from me or discipline or something else. And then the last part basically just says, I'm an ever-flowing fountain of relationship drama and ponderous topics to do with mental health. I'm the resident talker among my friends. Some people call me explicit language for explicit reasons, and for others, I'm the sounding board that they love to talk to. I have a potty mouth and a gutter brain, if you haven't noticed. Oh, I noticed, Ryder. So I had to bleep it out.
It's interesting.
It was too blue even for pod therapy.
The stuff that you edit out, but we'll say freely in the Patreon part
I think it was pretty obvious why I edited out that whole last paragraph. That was more Ice Cream Social content. I don't know that I could bring it onto here. So, okay, to recap the questions that I got out of this one. So the writer talks about trying to raise a child. The writer talks about living with bipolar 2, cyclothymia, ADHD, and talks about challenges with the child. So fearing the child will grow up to be maybe like dad, who's drug dependent and has a lot of challenges. Noticing that child is sarcastic today and wanting some advice on parenting. Asking about whether child should take ADHD medication, stimulants, and then also writer asked, do courts care if you're getting help for your mental health, such as bipolar 2? Is that going to be used against you in court proceedings? And the writer talks about why they decided to go ahead and get help anyway, but I think wants to be reassured about that.
All right, which one do you want to start with?
Well, okay.
Let's start with the mental health in court.
Yeah, that's a good one to start with.
So I think with the court, I mean, I can't really speak for the court, but from my experience, what the court is looking at is they're looking at stability. They're not looking necessarily at a past or current mental health diagnosis.
Right.
they're really focusing on, is that condition stable?
Mm-hmm.
You know, are you doing the things that you need to do? Are you taking meds as prescribed? Are you keeping appointments with your psychiatrist and with your therapist?
Yeah.
You know, and how are you demonstrating stability for your child?
Right.
I think ultimately at the end of the day, that's what the court is interested in.
Yeah.
For the most part, I think a lot of courts have, they've made a lot of progress in trying to understand mental health. And I think they've gotten a lot better at that.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's quite as big of an issue as it used to be. That'd be my take on it.
That is true. That is true. So real quick, because some diagnostics are thrown around here, we should probably talk a little bit about them. So bipolar 2 is kind of the driving diagnosis here. Bipolar 2, if you've been a long-term listener to the show, we've unpacked that several times. We have guests in the past that live with bipolar. So bipolar is not mood swings. A lot of people think it's just, oh, you're so bipolar because you were happy and now you're sad and now you're angry. That's bipolar. No, it's not.
Or you change your mind a lot.
You change your mind a lot. You're so indecisive. You're so bipolar. No, that's not what those are. Bipolar is a state change, and the person's state oscillates from what looks like depression, okay, like full-blown diagnostically depressed, to full-blown diagnostically hypomanic. That word hypo specifically refers to beneath, being under, like hypodermic needle goes under your skin. Hypomanic means beneath manic. Manic, full-blown manic, is the difference between bipolar 1 and bipolar 2. It has to do with degrees of severity. So bipolar 1 is when a person has what we call mania. Bipolar 2, which is much more common, is when people don't reach full mania, but they do reach hypomania. So those two poles matter a lot because manic is a state of mind. That has to do with perspective. It has to do with impulse, spontaneity, judgment, having poor judgment at the time. Usually people in a manic episode will report having an intense amount of energy, confidence, enthusiasm, joy. They'll just seem like they're on fire. They just don't sleep. You know, they're just always going. They're so productive. They're so creative. It's euphoric. And sometimes they can also become extremely impulsive, prone to maybe substance misuse, prone to really sporadic decisions and poor judgment. These are the people that are like mowing their lawn at 2 a.m. It seems like a good idea. So oscillating between those poles can be difficult. And cyclothymia, in this case, I think is referring to the speed at which the person is cycling between the high and the low. And then they also report having ADHD kind of flowing in the background there. So just to speak to that. So Nick's point about mental health in court. So it's difficult to speculate to what all judges across the world, or the country, I guess in this case, would do with this kind of information. I'll tell you that from my personal experience, I have had patients come see me who have said, I've been asked to do this as part of my custody situation. I'm trying to get custody of my kid or maintain custody of my kid or whatever. The assessor wanted me to talk to a therapist, and they're going to ask you some questions. So I have participated in things like that, and I'll tell you what Nick said is absolutely right. What they usually care about is, all right, what is your condition? Like, let's be aware of how that affects things, because that's important. It's not disqualifying, but they want to know. And then they also want to know, is it being managed? Okay, are you doing what they tell you to do? So if we tell you, hey, your bipolar type, I think, would be better regulated with Saffris or another medication that would kind of be a mood stabilizer. I'm going to refer you to a psychiatrist, and I want you to follow up with that and solve this problem. I want you guys to start getting on a healthy medicine for you. Well, yeah, if later on the judge says, hey, your behaviors, these alleged behaviors we're hearing from your kid and hearing from your ex and hearing from your neighbors or hearing from other witnesses that say you're doing some things that don't seem congruent with good parenting, we're concerned that you're not taking good care of your mental health. Can you prove that you're following the orders of your therapist and your doctor? Well, yeah, at that point, that's when they're going to ask me to send a letter. And the letter I'm going to send is not going to talk about your personal information. I will only send it if you ask me to, but my letter is going to say something like, I've seen this patient for these reasons. This is the progress I think they're making, and here have been my clinical recommendations, right? And yes, they're in compliance with my recommendations, or no, they haven't really been doing what I tell them to do. So in that way, writer, yes, your mental health can be scrutinized by the court. It can be discussed by the court. In my experience, most of the time, I've only ever seen the court care that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing with your mental health. If you're disregarding the medical and clinical recommendations of your providers, the court is concerned with that because that reflects on your judgment. It reflects on whether or not you're going to provide a stable household for the child. And they should. That's fine. That's their job. And they're gonna ask questions about that. But I think you made the right call going to see a therapist and saying, you know what, consequences be damned, I'm going to take care of my mental health. Well, that was actually the right call. If you wanted the support of the court, 99% of the time, I'd say that was the right call for that particular question.
Okay? That's good. That's what I would have guessed as well on that one.
They don't punish you for getting help.
Yeah.
Right. No.
Like you're doing the work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they're really just focused on the stability of the kid, right? That the kid has a safe environment. Let's do number 4 next.
Okay.
He's 9. Last psychiatrist strongly suggested meds for ADHD. How do we feel about children on stimulants? I think it's scarier. I mean, it would be very scary as a parent to hear that, you know, but I don't think it's quite as scary anymore as it used to be.
Right.
I think, for the most part, the reason why kids would get put on that, it really is for functioning in school. You know, once they're out of school, like, you know, in the summertime, a lot of times they'll take like quote vacations from taking the meds. So they'll get off the meds because it's not as important, you know, to focus on in school. I mean, I'm not really opposed to that. That's probably the best treatment for ADHD.
Yeah, I mean, it really is one of the only ones.
Yeah, because there's nothing really, you know, psychotherapeutically, like meeting with a therapist that's really going to be very effective for ADHD.
Yeah.
If you don't also have medication management.
I get that all the time. I mean, you know, probably a couple times a year, I get a pediatric case, and I usually try to refer out pediatrics. I mean, I have associates that I think do better work with pediatrics. So I usually don't try to do too much pediatric work, but I have over my career. And this never fails that I'll get somebody that says, hey, we're here because kid seems to have signs of ADHD. I don't want them to be medicated. I wanted them to see a therapist first because I really wanted to feel like we're trying everything organically. And, you know, in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, I kind of probably can predict where we're going to go with this because I'm going to reach the ceiling real quick with what I can functionally do with this kid without the medicines, right? So I'll say, you know what, that's great. And here's what I want to do. Let me get to know your child. Let me try everything I can do. And then I will always be honest with you. And if I think that they would benefit from medicine, I'll give you that feedback. If I think they wouldn't, I'll give you that feedback. And usually that really helps the parent because then they're like, all right, thanks for getting to know my kid, right? Because a lot of times the psychiatrist didn't. Like a lot of times they're just like, yeah, throw pills at him. You're like, hey, this is my kid. Like, don't just throw amphetamines at my kid.
Here's the other component that we need to
You'll
remember
hurt it.
too.
Yeah, those will hurt.
Yeah, those bottles are heavy.
Take them out of the bottles first.
Yeah.
Here's the other component that I think is a really very important piece that we need to remember is it sounds like both mom and dad have a drug using history.
Sure.
So from their perspective,
They're scared.
it's like, oh, you're giving my kid amphetamines.
Right.
Know the hell you are over my dead body. You know, I know what my experience with that was.
Right.
You're not giving my kid these substances. But you also have to remember that for kids who have ADHD, they respond differently to amphetamines and stimulants than people who don't have ADHD.
Right.
It's fundamentally different how the brain reacts to that.
Awakening the executive functions.
Yeah.
So whenever I meet with a kiddo, let's say at this case, 9, if I get to know him a little bit, I can pretty square up, or I can square up rather quickly whether or not I think, yeah, this person's, kind of neurodivergent here. I think that they've got these, kind of classic ADHD signs. I'll quickly reach the end of my road of effectiveness with them. And then I'll usually powwow with the family and say, hey, let me be a voice that can give you more information about this. And let me speak to you in a little bit slower format and more calmly, knowing your kid pretty good. And I'll usually translate what these medicines do and why I'm comfortable with them. But at the end of the day, Ryder, if your doc is suggesting this, you said the last psych strongly suggested meds for ADHD. I assume that means either a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I would tell you this. The good news is, with this particular medicine, they work rather quickly, and they're out of your system rather quickly. Mm-hmm. So it's similar. If I could compare its effect, I would compare it to like an espresso. If they were like, hey, we want to give your kid espresso, you'd be like, well, I don't know if I want him living on espresso. Fine, but can we try it over the weekend and see how he does? Because he can pee that out, right? Like, it'll be okay. And that's kind of what these are. Like, if you're given Ritalin or Modafinil or any of these others, I think generally it's nice because we can see how the person reacts to it rather quickly. And that usually reveals to what extent they want to use these. And the other thing you have to remember, Ryder, like Nick said, these meds for kiddos are almost entirely just for specific purposes. How do we get them through the school day? That's the goal, right? And then during summer break, we don't care anymore. During Christmas break, take a drug holiday. Who cares? Take the weekends off. Who cares? Usually docs aren't going to give you a hard time for that. Again, I do not give medical advice in this show. That is not part of the scope. This is an educational show only. Always do everything with the explicit advice and by the exact, per the letter of the law, directions from your provider. Don't let us tell you to take drug holidays and then you go take drug holidays. Always listen to the advice of your prescriber. But you're asking, hey, what do you think about kids and stims? I think there are lots of kids that benefit from them. We went through an era where we were over prescribing this stuff. We were throwing pills at every kid. Every kid was being diagnosed with ADHD. That was dumb. Then we underreacted and stopped calling it ADHD. And then now we have a bunch of 20 and 30-year-olds that wake up and realize they've had ADHD the whole time. Nobody called it that. And so they're trying to figure out their lives now. It's always been a very fuzzy diagnosis. But if you have a good psych, whether that's therapist or psychiatrist, and they're recommending meds, I don't think there's a lot of harm to go ahead and following the medical recommendations to start and evaluating as you go. That's part of the beauty of that particular diagnosis in medicine, is that it's pretty straightforward.
Let's go to number 2. How do I make sure my child doesn't grow to be a self-absorbed, dishonest, and drug-dependent like his dad?
Whew, yeah, buddy. So you're worried. You said that your child does have their own therapist. You said you moved again. You're finding them a new one. That's great. If therapy is something your child has done well with and you find that they're good and responsive to it, great. I think that's great. I do say this, a lot of times with pediatric cases, people just kind of push their kids into therapy because they just think therapy good. Bring kid to therapy. Therapist will fix. And a lot of times I end up sitting with the parents and telling them, I have no more therapeutic gift to this child. I don't believe there's anything I'm doing here. I think we're just talking shop. They're pretty young. I don't think we're communicating well. And a lot of times the best thing you can give a kiddo is not an hour with me. Best thing you can give a kiddo is sports, get them into a club, get them into Boy Scouts, get them out there playing soccer with their friends, getting them into healthy activities surrounded by other people for them to imitate and emulate, I think is ultimately a very stabilizing force. I'll tell you that, whenever Nick and I think about drug history, when we think about adults who have developed drug dependence, we do notice some patterns throughout their lived histories. No two people are identical, but there are some patterns, of things that we're looking for. We look for things like trauma. Do they have a history of trauma? Sometimes that becomes something that they're kind of medicating to get away from. We look for things like coping skills. Do they have really poor coping skills? Did they develop habituated use of the medications or the drugs as a way to stop feeling? Did they learn how to deal with stress? Did they learn how to deal with their emotions? Was it okay for them to express their emotions? Did they learn that it was safe and healthy to do that, or did they feel like they had to stuff it and be happy for other people or whatever? There's some trends when it comes to patterns of drug abuse that we could teach people at a younger age to kind of deal with, and that could steer you in the right direction.
Possibly. I think there's no guarantee that your child's not going to develop some of these traits.
Yeah.
Some of it may just be, personality, and he's probably going to inherit some personality like his dad. That's, it's probably unavoidable at some point. But I think the best thing that you can do, I agree with Jim as far as getting your child involved in things that he's interested in, activities, getting him out socializing with other kids. But I think the best thing that you can do is identify the traits that you want him to have and model those in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the best thing that you can do.
I think that's great advice. And, don't be afraid to educate the kid, and that's the thing too. Around this age, when they're getting to 5th, 6th, 7th grade, you might want to start having a conversation and say, hey, listen, I'm never going to glorify drugs and alcohol. I do want to prepare you that that's out there. It's part of the world. Here's why I don't want you to be a part of it. Here's why I want you to be safe. And then I think that's it. Some parents feel like they need to get into the weeds of this and tell terrible stories from the past and stuff like that. And I usually tell them, let's keep it age appropriate. At the point, you don't have to give them the whole book on the subject right away. You don't have to give them the worst highlight reel of your life or somebody else's life to dissuade them. You can just tell them, hey, these are bad. Trust me, don't do them. Here's why. They make you sick, whatever. If you have friends that do them, come talk to me. Opening up that channel so that kids will safely come to you, not feel like you're going to bark at them, not feel like you're going to overreact. If they can talk to you about it, you can generally steer them in the right direction. If you can keep people educated and coping in healthy ways and being honest about things and learning about things, they'll generally find a good path. But hey, there are folks that absolutely had the best of life. They had the best parenting, they had the best schools, they had the best everything, they had therapists their whole life, whatever, and they may still get addicted to drugs or alcohol. That can still happen. But the good news is people can also get help and they can also get well, and that's part of it too. But teaching those recovery principles early, kind of starting a kid with pre-covery, I think is a really great asset.
Yeah, and you talk about that you got a new job. It's very stressful. It seems like it's pretty time consuming. I think the biggest thing with this is just making sure that you do find time to spend with your child and make it, I mean, if you don't have a whole lot of quantity of time, make sure you got some good quality time.
Yeah.
Do some stuff, activities, stay active as best you can.
And Ryder, from one parent to another, when your kiddo is around this age, listen, you are talking what we're all talking. Every parent on earth is feeling like, man, I don't spend enough time with my kid. I'm not there for them. Am I abandoning them? Do they get enough of me? Are they coping in bad ways? Or talking to people on video games now? Or they're hanging out with their friends after school? Or they're reading books? What are they doing? Am I being there for them? So your fear, I just want to tell you as one parent to another, we're all feeling that. We're all scared that we're not doing enough. But let me tell you something. A, kids are resilient. They're going to be okay. B, your kid is entering an era where they actually are going to start learning those self-soothing, independent skills. And it's okay that your job requires you to give them more space to learn those skills. Just make sure you don't become an absentee parent. We do have to rouse that last, bit of energy at the end of the night to not seem completely defeated before we talk to them. We need to give them permission to be an obstacle, give them permission to be a nuisance, give them permission to be a burden on us, because that's what we signed up for. We're parents. These kids don't owe us jack. They don't have to make our lives easier at the end of the night. We're still here to raise them. And so we do have to bring that last, good amount of energy and make it look easy. In my book, Dad Vice, 50 Fatherly Life Lessons by Dr. Jim Jobe.
I thought it was that other one.
Available at dadvicebook.com.
If you want to get $1 cheaper, Fatherly Advice.
There is a chapter in the book.
It's got all the good stuff in it.
Perhaps the finest chapter, which is called Float Like a Duck. And it talks about what I think one of my really important parenting principles is, which is I don't let my kids see me sweat too much under the weight of the world. I try to just swim like hell under the water, but kind of seem like it's graceful on top. And as parents, sometimes that's what we got to do. That way our kids feel safe coming to us and burdening us with their gripes, their grouches, and their challenges. And so one parent to another, I just want to say, I get it. I feel your feels on this. We're all dealing with this. Kids are resilient, but also try to do what you can, to make it safe to talk to you. Great question. All right, we are at the end of that one. We're going to jump to break, and when we come back, we're talking about boundaries and power in friendships. You're listening to Bing Crosby.
Today's episode is brought to you by Robert Brownie Jr., Mints, Kayla Lansbury, Crazy, Banana Scoop, Leah, Cindy Ash. Would you like to sponsor the show? Become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy. Here's our next Christmas classic, Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree. Is that by A, The Carpenters, B, Brenda Lee, C, Darlene Love, D, Eartha Kitt, or E, Leonardo da Vinci? If you'd like to join the Therapy Producers and make the show possible, go to patreon.com/therapy and sign up. Again, that's patreon.com/therapy.
Jacksonville Jaguars. Final answer.
D, or no, F.
I see what you tried to do there, Tangeman.
Yeah.
You tried to not put the right answer on the list.
By not making it an option, you tried to throw us
the
off.
halls with bells of holly rocking around. Okay, the only movie that comes to mind is Home Alone. I'm going with Macaulay Culkin.
Okay.
Final answer.
Okay.
Brenda Lee. Final answer.
What are the options again? It was Carpenters.
Brenda Lee, Darlene Love, Eartha Kitt.
Rocking around the Christmas tree.
I am.
It's Brenda Lee.
I'll be shocked if it's Eartha Kitt.
Brenda Lee.
I would be equally as shocked if it were the Carpenters.
That's Brenda Lee.
I will go C.
Joe Pesci.
Darlene Love.
I'll go Darlene Love.
Joe Pesci.
Because it's one of those two.
Final answer.
I'm confident that either Jim or I got it correct.
John Candy. Final answer.
It is one of those two.
Oh, it's Brenda
and
Lee.
It is Brenda Lee.
Hell
There
yeah, it's Brenda Lee. Damn. Jim knows his Home Alone credits.
So
that's the only reason I know that. Because you get to the songs sung in the movie. Brenda Lee is the one.
Can you name the songs that the others did?
Those are the singers?
Yeah.
Oh, no. No, I don't even know who they are. I don't know any of those people.
Fair enough.
You don't know Eartha Kitt? You don't know the Carpenters?
Is that no.
Eartha Kitt did Santa Baby.
Yeah.
Santa Baby. I can
That one,
sing the
yes.
songs. See?
Can you?
No. Kinda. I can sing exactly those two words. Santa Baby.
Go on.
Na, 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 na. Santa Baby. Na, na, na. Yeah, I have no idea what that song's about.
What Christmas song did the Carpenters do?
Merry Christmas, Darling.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
That's one that doesn't get a whole lot of play these days.
And then Darlene Love did Christmas, Baby Please Come Home,
Yeah.
Okay.
which the Eagles did then later.
Ah.
I like the Eagles version of that one. It's good.
Yeah. Every once in a while, if you're an artist and you drop just a banging Christmas song, you're made for life.
Oh, really, Mariah Carey?
Mariah Carey don't have to work ever again. Like one song.
She gets a number one hit
She's
every year.
done.
She did not have to work before that.
Yeah, she's been just cruising on that one for a long time. Boundaries and power in friendships. Hell there. Does it say Heil? Wait a minute.
They're supposed to say hello. I'm guessing.
Hello there. That's probably what it is. Hello there.
Probably a typo.
Yeah. Or it's something else. Hello there. I'm a 25-year-old.
Or it's from Laura.
Yep. I'm a 25-year-old woman who recently started working for a lawyer at his practice. He is in his mid-50s and has a prestigious reputation. As we have been working together, we have connected in a lot of ways. We talk very often outside of work and have become very good friends, sending each other long texts every day concerning our mutual interests of philosophy, films, books, and life in general. In these communications, there has never been anything unprofessional, even hinted at, that has made me uncomfortable. This has been happening for about 2 months. However, today, he invited me to his office for coffee, which in itself felt normal, but after chatting for a bit, he made what I perceived to be a move, where, after a stretched silence, he asked if he had made the moment awkward. I answered no, and he said...
Wait, there was a silence after the move?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. I answered no, and he said, what about if I move closer? To which I laughed nervously and said maybe, and did not move closer. This made me uncomfortable, as I am currently dating someone who I very much so want to be with. The lawyer knows that I'm in this relationship and knows that I'm happy. I'm unsure how to proceed from here. I don't think I should tell my boyfriend, seeing as how I work with this person every day, and I want to maintain this friendship. I value it very much, but I feel dishonest, uncomfortable, and quite thrown. What should I do? Anonymous.
Wow. That's a good question.
That is a good question.
I got to tell you, Anonymous, before we even started doing the Patreon
No!
today, we had a conversation in which I mentioned something about you don't shit where you eat.
Yes.
Yes.
A good principle.
And this is why.
Don't poo-poo where you yum-yum. Also a chapter in Dadvice, 50 Fatherly Life Lessons.
You didn't go
by
shit where
Dr.
you
Jim
eat?
Jobins. No. I called it Don't Poo-Poo Where You Yum-Yum. And if either of you had read my book, you'd know that.
If either of us had read your book, we would have already made fun of you for that chapter title.
Yeah.
That is really a title of one of the chapters.
Now I feel like we should read the book. It's loaded with good material.
It had made me want to read the book more. This has not changed my opinion on whether or not I'm going to read the book.
Yeah.
Or
I'm
purchase
selling.
it to support Jim.
Selling these points. Dadvicebook.com.
Fatherly advice.
Best holiday gift
Available on
you could
Amazon.
get to anybody who you love. Dadvicebook.com.
Especially if you have a wobbly table.
Also a very good use of the book. It's exactly the right
Okay.
thickness for that.
I mean, it's one of those things. If this happened outside of work,
Yeah.
this is somebody making a move on you,
Sure.
and you tell your significant other or you don't, depending on how that relationship is and kind of the nature of that and everything else.
Right.
Because it's at work.
Do we assume that it's done, that it's squashed? Because I don't hear the writer saying, hey guys, how do I tell the lawyer
Okay,
I'm not
so
feeling
let's
this?
proceed first, assuming it is, and then we'll come back
That
to
it's squashed?
Yeah.
squash.
Let's
Okay.
assume that he made his move.
Yep.
He struck out.
Yep.
And he will never make a move again.
Yep. And we're back to being cool, and it wasn't such an overreach that the relationship's broken.
Right.
Because
Right.
the writer says, I value the friendship, I'd like to keep that going. So let's
There you go.
assume everything's good. Now
Yes.
it's just a question of feeling guilt.
Sure.
What do you think?
I don't know.
Dude, really?
Next question.
No. Okay, that's all the time that we have today. No, I think. All right. I mean,
Did that
I guess
silence
there's a
make it awkward?
couple-
Jacob's
yeah.
just Johnny on the
Didn't
spot
make it
with
awkward.
that drop today. Start and stop the show. He's like godlike powers.
I mean, okay, we have to assume that this is a good job, that you want to keep the job.
Wait,
you definitely want the friendship.
Is the question to just whether or not to tell the significant other? What is the question?
That
I'm unsure.
technically is the question. That's what it says.
Well, I'm unsure how to proceed. Do you think I should tell my boyfriend?
Yeah, that's all.
Seeing
it
how I
says.
work with this person.
Yeah, it's entirely outward facing. The question implies we're cool. Lawyer and I squashed it. Now, do I tell my boyfriend? Like, that's what I take away. I mean, I have two answers. Obviously, I think all three of us are aching to explain how to tell the dude to piss off.
My first, well, I think we've got that. I think, I mean, as far as should I tell the boyfriend, my first question is, tell me a little bit about your boyfriend.
Right.
Right.
You know, what are we dealing with?
Is this going to be a thing like you're going to tell your boyfriend, that it is all squashed?
Right.
And assuming that it is. And is your boyfriend then going to react in a way? Is your boyfriend going to say, like, I don't want you going back to that job.
Yeah.
I want you to quit. Is it gonna make life more difficult for you, I guess?
I mean, I guess this kind of goes back to things that we've talked about in the show before, which is like, do you tell somebody knowing it's going to hurt them, or do you just, it's over, we just move on, and we don't talk about it?
I believe it has just occurred to me what the problem here is with the writer.
Yeah.
Sincerely. I think the writer might be feeling some guilt that the writer invited this. And I think that might be why the writer is saying, do I tell my boyfriend?
I feel dishonest, uncomfortable, and quite thrown, she says.
There might be a little bit of,
it's tricky because what if the boyfriend has a history of responding poorly to this kind of thing?
Right.
Or is like, oh, I knew that guy had and it's tricky because I get where the writer's thinking, all right, like I squashed this, but like I feel yucky. I want to tell you, but then there could be a variety of problems here, right? Like either our boyfriend, we can't trust him to react well, or boyfriend's going to think more happened than I'm telling him, or whatever. For whatever reason, the writer obviously is reluctant.
You know what? The amount of people that hit on my wife that I'm sure that happens, that she doesn't tell me about, just based on the ones that she does tell me about, I'm sure that there are others that she that for whatever reason she doesn't tell me about.
Yeah.
And then
it's happened at parties that you are at.
Oh, yes.
You've told the stories about
certainly. And then it's happened the other way around as well.
Yeah.
Where people have hit on me and for whatever reason I didn't tell her. There have been times where I have been oblivious to the fact that someone was hitting on me.
Sure.
Which happens.
I've been throwing a lot at your way for a year now. You don't just
I had there was a female friend that asked me to come over to help her assemble a piece of furniture one time, and she answered the door nude other than her bathrobe.
Oh, yeah.
And that didn't click in my head for years.
So where's the furniture? Yeah.
That's exactly it. Like I went in.
I brought a hammer. I assumed you didn't have one. Is that cool?
I went in. We assembled this piece of furniture, and I left.
Yeah.
And we had a nice conversation. We were having a good time while we were doing it, and that was it. And it didn't
go back
occur
and watch
to me
the tape
for years
of her throwing all these moves.
Yeah.
Oh, can I go get that screwdriver for you? Yeah, please. Is it this one? Yeah, don't put it in your mouth though. That's not good for the.
Yeah, you're gonna make it rust.
Yeah, you're gonna rust that. No, don't do that. You don't need to. You clean it with soap and water.
Yeah.
I love a cup of coffee. Do you have
Yeah.
any kind of coffee? Go make.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if what you're saying is the entirety of the situation.
Right.
I don't know why you fanned the flame, and
that's kind of where I'm at.
And even mentioned it to the boyfriend.
Right.
Like.
Some people are really touchy though, and they want to know. And that's the rule of the relationship. Is I need to know every single thing.
Well, if that's the rule of the relationship, then she's writing in for no reason.
Right.
Yeah.
So the assumption I guess we should have is
I'm assuming
it's
that's not
been
the
discussed.
rule.
They don't have a policy on this. Or we don't know how boyfriend has expressed what they would want to know or not. I mean,
want to know. I'm kind of with Jacob. I feel like if you're convinced this is done, it's over with. And both sides are setting some firm boundaries now.
Right.
I don't see any reason why you would need to bring this up.
I mean, the really shitty thing here, or I guess it might not be the only really shitty thing here, but definitely a really shitty thing here, is it has changed the dynamic.
Yeah.
With you and your boss. And boy, I'm trying really hard not to use gender pronouns because you didn't tell us what gender you are.
All right. Do you
especially if you're anonymous writers? give us a pronoun. It really helps us out just in the discussion.
Well, we definitely know that lawyer boss is a male.
We know lawyer boss
lot
is a
of
male, and
he's.
we know that Ryder has a boyfriend.
Yeah.
I'm a 25-year-old woman.
Oh, good.
There we go. We got it. Okay.
Nailed it.
Do you want to know? I'm pointing at Jacob. Jacob, you're the boyfriend. Do you want to know?
I don't care.
Nick, do you want to know?
I don't care to know.
Yeah, but it's probably best I don't.
Okay.
I mean, you're happy you're in ignorance.
Yeah, exactly. I'm perfectly fine not knowing.
I want to know.
How about this? I don't think that's the right question. I think the right question is if she doesn't tell you and you find out later that boss hit on her.
Yeah.
Are
you mad?
Are you mad? Are you pissed?
I want to know. I want to know. And here's why. Ryder says, I work for a lawyer at his prestigious law firm.
Mm-hmm.
We're buddies. This happened. I don't like not knowing that my partner has been put in this situation with their boss. It's like one thing if it's like, yeah, a coworker among many other coworkers flirted with me passing by. That sucks.
So do you want to know because you can help?
Yeah.
I
So
wanna
what do you
know-
do
Why
with
do you
that
wanna know?
information?
Oh no. It's not a jealousy thing. It's not an insecurity thing.
No,
It's-
but what do you do with it?
Well,
Why do you
you've
want
got
to know?
I
that
want to be
information.
supportive. This matters. Like she feels weird. She feels uncomfortable. She's concerned. I don't want her to feel like she can't tell me that.
I like this. I like if Ryder, if you are feeling as though you need some extra support in this.
Yeah, that's where I'm coming from.
Then you go to your significant other.
Well, it's her
and-
boss.
and
This
for
poor
that
woman.
support.
Well,
Absolutely.
Yeah, the poor woman's got to be like, geez, my boss, like that's a lot. And like it's enough that like as the partner, I know you're going through something now, and I don't want you to feel like you're so scared to tell me that like you have to go through that alone. That's a complex thing you're dealing with. Your boss just made a pass at you at his solo prestigious law firm, and you're like the only other person that works there. That's a lot for you. I don't want you to go through that.
What if she's confident she's got this? It's dealt with.
Oh yeah.
Done. Do you
I mean,
still want to know?
I'm good. But I think the three of us are not cut from the same cloth as all people. Like there's people that are not
Oh no, I'm a weirdo.
comfortable. Yeah, like there's people that are not comfortable with this and they're not bad or insecure or worthy of being mocked for wanting to know. There's a lot of people that would want to know and they're well within their rights to say that. They're in a relationship, they want to know.
I mean, I think you know if your boyfriend would want to know this.
Yeah, I think that's true.
I think you know that. You don't need us to tell you that.
Yeah.
And I think that you know whether or not you need the extra support from your boyfriend.
Yeah.
When it comes to this. So I would
I guess she
I would
even
quote
says-
Star Trek at this point
Oh,
and say
good.
search your feelings.
Oh, yes. Oh, Jacob. Play the jingle. God
Oh, you didn't
damn,
even
we just
get
got
it.
life
It's
coached.
fine.
You didn't even get it.
Ah.
I mean, I'll take the excuse to play the jingle.
Oh.
I'm upset with you for saying that. I'm upset with you for not getting it.
Huh? He's quoting Star Trek.
No, he's not. He's quoting Star Wars.
Oh. Oh.
I just made every
Yeah.
I know just enough about the two to really make everybody pissed.
Oh, that's terrible. Oh, geez, I'm ashamed.
But here's the thing. I
Took
just
that hook real deep in
I
the
just
gills.
read this. She says, let me read this to you.
Go ahead.
I am unsure how to proceed here. I don't think I should tell my boyfriend, seeing as how I work with this person every day
Okay.
and I want to maintain this friendship.
Yeah, so she's afraid that
So it sounds
telling
like
boyfriend's
she's-
going to influence whether or not she can continue to be friendly with the lawyer.
So she's
because
leaning
they're
towards
texting all the
not
time
to.
too, and boyfriend's going to say, "Hey, man, now I have an issue with that. I didn't used to care, but now
Maybe,
I'm
yeah.
concerned because I know
Maybe
how
so.
his half the conversation's going. So maybe that would affect things." And then Ryder says, "I value it very much, but I feel dishonest, uncomfortable, and quite thrown." Yeah, so that is tricky. Having to manage.
I think
another
if it's going to
person.
mess you up,
Yeah, if you
then
can't
you
sleep
then
at
you
night.
do the thing.
Yeah.
Then you tell the boyfriend.
Yeah. Yeah, it is tricky. God, that is a tough one. We
And
should
this
write
is-
into a show about this.
And this is the shitty thing about what
Is
the
there like
boss
a
did.
super pod therapy we can
is
write
because
to?
the boss is now put you in a shitty, uncomfortable situation
Yeah.
that doesn't have a win.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel bad because, like, when all these adults are interacting and things like that, I understand missed signals. I understand. And, like, I'm usually not against somebody taking their try as long as they are very cognizant of if they have failed and how to quickly recalibrate from that. Like, there's got to be a way to flirt with people in good faith, and then if you're rejected, quickly
Not when they work for you.
Well, yeah, the power dynamic thing
when
is
they
yucky.
work for you.
Yeah, the power thing is yucky.
You stay professional.
Yeah, I think you have to.
I think I have one way of looking at this.
Okay.
So let's say, so if we're setting boundaries,
they should draw up a contract between themselves.
No, definitely. if they're setting boundaries,
what?
If it's going to be something that is going, so you have to. If it's going to be just work relationship at this point, which it sounds like you still want there to be a friendship relationship. If there's still going to be a friendship relationship there, I don't see how that's going to be possible with telling the boyfriend this information. Mm-hmm. If it's, strictly a work relationship, all of our communications have to do with work and that's it, then I think you can tell the boyfriend. But I think if you do it either of the other ways, I don't see how that's going to work. Right? I mean, if you say, yes, we're going to maintain friendship, we're going to continue to text back and forth,
right?
And I tell my boyfriend this, he's not going to react well to those text messages now that are coming through.
That might, that might be a little bit of a hard road.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that it is. I don't know all the details of this. I would say you're probably going to end up sacrificing the friendship part of the boss relationship.
Yeah.
Like I think the position that the boss has put you in at this point is very much one. Again, not knowing the details, but it seems to me like it would be very much one where you might be able to salvage the professional relationship.
Yeah, good
point. The friend relationship might just be done.
Yeah.
And that has nothing to do.
Also, it's awkward when somebody hits on you and you reject them. It's awkward the next time you're around them anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Even if boyfriend didn't exist, boss has made their play. And that play included gambling the possibility that the friendship could just return to business as usual.
Yeah.
And they lost. They lost that play. They made their move. And I think that you don't have to now preserve that friendship. And then I get that, like, for you it was rewarding and, like, it was really good. But if you have to choose, I hate this word, but if you have to choose fidelity to the boss friendship or fidelity to the relationship that you're in, that you're happy in, pick the boyfriend.
I would say loyalty is a better word than fidelity.
There you go. Like, pick loyalty to that. Like, pick the one who, honor that relationship. Boss doesn't deserve your loyalty right now over boyfriend.
Or, I mean, again, a lot of details here that we don't know.
We don't know.
If you value the friendship with the boss more than you value the romantic relationship with the boyfriend, which sounded from your email, it doesn't sound like that's the case.
Yeah, you said
but
you're happy.
That might be be something.
It also comes down to, would boyfriend even care? Like, all three of us are looking at each other going, hey, would you care? Not really. Would you care? Not really. Yeah, I don't care either. And that's, we wouldn't care because you didn't do anything wrong. But not everybody's going to be mature about it.
But if somebody hits on my wife and then is continually texting her daily,
then I care.
That's a different animal.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, too.
That's different.
Like, this guy's trying to go back to just the business as usual thing. My spouse in this case, or your partner, you didn't realize, Ryder, that he was up to this.
Mm-hmm.
Your boyfriend probably is like, yeah, I knew what this dude was up to, and like, fine, whatever. But now if you continue to do this, he's going to have some reservations about it. Maybe those reservations are good. Maybe those instincts are actually good to say, hey, you're trying to slip back into this old deal. That he's just waiting for another try.
Right.
And I don't know. But again, I also don't agree with this idea that, like, we need the masculine protector to show up and influence the trajectory of the relationship to protect this woman.
No.
Dude took a shot. She rejected him. She's a big girl. She handled her business. She don't need no dude. So, like, at this point, it just comes down to her personal honesty.
That's what I'm saying. If she feels like she needs that support, then that's a different thing.
That's it. Mm-hmm. That's the only reason. Or if you feel like your partner would genuinely be hurt that you didn't tell them, and you know this about them, then you have to live with the fact that they will hold you as dishonest later on if they find out.
Hopefully we're just giving you all the stuff that you need to think through, because we don't know enough to tell you something decisively here.
Here's the good news.
Yeah.
We are way behind on our letters. So she's probably already dealt with this.
Yeah. I'm sure that's fine.
I
I'm sure we're going to get another letter. Say, thanks for the advice.
She left her
idiots."
boyfriend. She has since married the boss.
I've married the boss.
Yeah.
I now co-own the law firm.
Yeah.
I've made
Or
my
she
choice.
sued the boss and now co-owns the law firm.
Right. That could be too.
There are options here.
Or we're going to read about this letter in the news tomorrow.
Good news, Anonymous. You have options.
Sorry we couldn't be more help on this one, but
Whatever
hopefully-
you do, don't draw up a contract
Don't do
to
that.
have
Don't
weird,
do that.
like sexual things going on at work, and then pretend like that's not going to affect
That's
anything.
okay. Don't
What you're not going to want to do is do 50 Shades style.
Allegedly.
50 Shades of
Allegedly,
Grey.
Jacob. Yes,
It's a
yes,
movie.
yes. It's a movie. Don't do that. That would be a bad idea.
That'd be
Yeah.
good.
You can't even dig that one up on patreon.com/therapy. There's some cuts that are too deep.
What are you talking about?
No, I
don't
don't have
know.
a clue.
50 Shades of Grey?
Hey, speaking of patreon.com/therapy, we have new friends that have joined in to support the show.
Yeah, we
Nice.
got some new Therapals. Welcome, Chris C., Maddie
Nail it. Come on, you can do this. Just sound it out.
Yandura. Maddie Yandura.
You're
I
gonna
believe
go
it's
with the-
pronounced Jones.
Yeah, you're going with.
Oh, it is.
It isn't just Jandura.
No, I don't think so. I think it's a
Man,
Yandura.
That's a big bet on the Y.
You know
sound
why,
for the
though?
J.
You know why I think that?
No.
Because Matty, Matty, I feel like
What?
is probably a European name.
What?
So that makes the J a
You're
ya
making this
sound.
up, right? You're making that up.
And Stacy, welcome, Therapals.
Got it.
Thanks for joining, everybody.
And of course, it's the first week of the month, and that's whenever we always thank all of the folks who support us at the Therapod and Therodactyl levels. Just grateful for all the friends who have shown up as be a part of this community and made this show possible. Thank you to all the Theropods, including Dan Martin, Kate Keller, Scoopstronaut, Corey Owens, Linda Brandmeier, Lori Eltzroth, Brad Kiefaver, Christine Phillips, Joseph Pangrazio, Tracy Raplogel, a.k.a. my mom, Gavin Bristow, Carrie Terhark, a.k.a. Nick's sister, Stacy Westerland, Richard Bruin, Scoopy Jess, Ian Whitefall, Chelsea Saracen, Craig Little, Curtis Kiwi Scoop Hanlon, James K., Katie Chubakowski, Don Dorr, Jim Hunter, Adam Rabiznik, Brooks Lyle, Okie Scoop, Jeffrey Ackerman, Matthew Nair, 3 Scoops a Lady, Elliot H. Lamb, Todd Canfield, David Sorensen, Felicia Butler, Chelsea Lamb, Shayla Bullock, Scoopatron, Lori Izzo, Stacy Coleman, I Have the Knack, Adam Petanuzzo, Lauren, Mats Lenegren, Polygon, Heather, Take It Evie Podcast, Sustainable Transportation for All, Ulrika, Ian Soto, Jessica Cyphers, Andrew Langmead, Charlie Quinn Starling, Natalie MC, That Josh Guy, Kernapiller, Levanti Baggy, Dr. Scoop Little, Mama Ninja Scoop, James Dawson, Colson Morrow, Jacob Harrington, Sean Daughtry, Amanda H., Grumpy Lake Mead Park Ranger, Sarah Olo, Brian Emra, John Hanfelder, Kiana, Sam Buck, and Scoop NATO Bait.
And thank you to all of our Therodactyls. Ice Blue Scoop, Brian Lehman, Scott Brady, Fred Bashir. Hold on.
I just want to point out, I got through
Bashara.
all the pods without one miss.
Fred Bashara, no.
Bashara?
I don't know.
Bashara Jr.
Now I'm
Feels
confused.
wrong.
Andrea Anderson, got that one right.
Yeah.
Lindsay Bashara.
Nailed it.
God damn it.
Yeah,
Bashara.
that was
No,
right.
I had it right. Yeah.
I mean,
all right,
according
all
to the
all
sound,
right,
you got it right.
Robert Paulson, Tess Miller, Slurpee Kaye motherfucker, got that one right.
You'd always know that one.
Ezekiel Lawrence, Frozen, Kesser, Angie Ellis, Ryan Stewart, Scott Ashlock, Robert Ward, Sapphire, Sammy Scoop, Tori Snyder, Chris, Benjamin Stanley, Sandra McAuliffe,
Oh, you good job, buddy.
Cy Shonigan,
Yeah.
Not a Scoop Solo Cody, Stephen L. Proctor, and TKO.
TKO. And we have, for the first time in a long time, a new Thera producer walking into the boardroom. Welcome, Dirty B. Ah, love it. Thank you, Dirty B, for stepping up to the plate.
And we especially want to thank our bosses, the Saccharin 16, Mysterious Enshrouded Illuminati members of the fan club, the Thera producers. Thank you, Smitty Scoop, Jake Schneider, Robert Brownie Jr., Mintz, Kayla Lansbury, Judy Schneider, Nathan's Hot Dog Scoop, King of Student Loan Debt, Dr. Ben Don, Crazy Manana Scoop, Mason Miller, Carolyn Albert, Leon Kassab, Kevin Chamberlain, Malaya, Richard... Malia. Ah, damn it. Richard Macy, Cindy Ash, Newstick, First of Name, Breather of Fire, Dumb of Ass, Lord Colin Stewart, and Dirty B.
If you'd like to hear this episode uncut and unedited,
And why wouldn't you?
and enjoy our spontaneous side projects, you can go to patreon.com/therapy, and thank you for supporting mental health. That's all the time we got for this week's session. We want to thank our landlords, Matt Mattingly's Ice Cream Social Podcast, and thanks to those of you who contributed to our show today. We really appreciate it. Remember, pod therapy isn't something you should keep all to yourself. Share this episode with someone who needs it by opening the episode's description in your podcast app and copying and pasting the link provided in your social media. Don't forget, you can find us at facebook.com/podtherapy, on Twitter @PodTherapyGuys, and at patreon.com/therapy.
And do you want to submit a question to the show? Ask anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. I'm Nick Tangeman.
I'm Bing Crosby.
Thanks, and we'll see you for your appointment next week.
I'm so happy to find out you did forensics, Jacob. I like that we both
I
were at the
remember
same
getting
stuff.
cash prizes.
Yeah, you're like the same people.
Yeah,
for
we're
this.
just exactly identical guys.
I remember going to singing competitions,
Oh, I
and I
didn't do
remember
that.
going to some of these things.
Okay.
And I remember both of them being for cash prizes.
Okay. So it may not have been school related?
I don't
like
think it was
county
school
fair
related.
or something like that?
There was no county fairs,
Oh,
but like
events?
some kind of event,
Maybe a school event.
like the